we'd get to Belvedere 9 o'clock maybe.
Really?
Hmm. And my dad and others would send down, by Dell, some big lap robes to put over us and so on, so we wouldn't freeze to death.
And you did that every Friday night. And then how did you do the same reverse when you were going back?
No, I don't remember. There was, in the wintertime, I don't remember exactly. But I know in the summertime, my father had a car, and so did Ed Potter. And either my dad or Ed Potter would take us back on Sunday night. Not everybody. I don't remember how some of them got.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the Woodard, Vera and Gordon lived in Belvedere Junction on the back road, and I don't remember how they got back to Cambridge.
Now, did you stay with Carrie at least through the 4 years of high school?
Oh no, I stayed when I was going to be a junior in high school. Everything was all during the Depression. Oh dear. I came down here.
Now, did the rest of them, like my mom and Menta and all of them, did they stay with Carrie through the whole time, or did they get rides down through, or go back home, or what? Do you remember?
Menta didn't go to school here very long. She went over to up to Danville with her sister.
Oh.
Now Herschel stayed on, but and Fred. Carrie Lease had several of us at one time there. I don't know how she put up with all of us, but.
Now I've heard stories from Mom about you would bring food back and it was rationed out. Is that?
Yes, we did.
And that it was served as your dessert or whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that you had free control of.
No.
Yeah.
No. Aunt Carrie was strict with us. She used to go over to the school and check on us to see how we were doing in our subjects. And if we weren't doing so well, boy, we really got it. She talked right up to us in good shape. But we were there the night of the flood, and we stayed there at the house until it got to be 10 o'clock, and the water was coming up around that house. So they moved us all up to the hotel.
And how long did you have to stay up there to the hotel?
Well, all night and the next day, I guess. We might have gone back down to Carrie's the next day because it didn't ever get into her house. It got up way up almost into the...
Do you recall how much she got per week for you to stay there?
No,
Probably wasn't
hardly
much.
anything.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember.
But the meals were good.
Oh, she was a good cook.
Did you take your laundry back home?
Yes.
You did. And so forth.
Yes, we did.
Okay, in high school, what was your favorite subject in high school?
Well, I like languages very much, and I guess and I pursued that, and that's what I taught.
Is that what you really wanted to be a teacher? Is that
Yes,
what you
I did.
had always thought
Yes, I
of
did.
being a teacher?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you play in sports?
No.
No?
We didn't have any sports.
Okay.
The boys had basketball and baseball, but there's nothing for the girls. They didn't have a basketball team when I went to school.
Now, did they play ball in the study hall like they did in later years? You know, the boys, did they move the
We moved all the seats out. Yeah. Wait a minute. When I was in high school, no, they haven't started that.
They hadn't?
No.
Okay. So they actually, when they played basketball, did they play other towns? Or?
Oh, yes.
Okay. But where were they able to practice and so forth?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The truth.
Yeah. You had school plays and so forth?
When I was in school, I can't remember any school plays.
Mhm.
I'm getting confused because I taught over here,
Mhm.
you see,
Mhm.
and when I taught here, that things had changed
Right,
some.
exactly.
Yeah.
How many were there in your graduating class?
I think there were 28.
And do you have any idea of how many are left now out of your class? You said you graduated in 1921?
29.
Or 29, I mean, I'm sorry.
There's Dr. Mann and myself left.
Really?
We're the only two.
Out of
28.
28? Uh-huh.
Roland Weston was here until last year. He passed away.
Mhm.
I'm supposed to be on the tape.
Well, that's okay. That's all right. What kind of a bird is that?
That's an owl.
Oh, it's an owl. Well, that's all right. So did you during the time that you were in school, high school and everything, did you have a job? Did you work during summer vacations and so
Yeah.
forth?
Yes. See, my folks moved down here in my junior year,
Okay.
and we lived over on School Street, where Bob Raymond's place is.
Okay.
My father and mother. And that was the first time that my mother had ever had electricity. And she was so happy.
And that would have been what year? 1928?
27.
27? Okay.
28, yes.
Yeah.
And what was
Jobs during the summer. Did you work through the summer? Summer.
Phyllis and I worked for Mark Holly, who had the cafe.
Okay.
I was telling that I worked for Mort and Mabel Holly, and they had that. It was called Holly's Cafe. Both Phyllis and I worked there, and we had to go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. And my folks at that time lived up where, right beside of where Tink Cattell lives now, this side of it. And as we went down through the village, we were about half asleep. We'd always meet Ernest Gallup just coming to his garage, and he'd have something funny to say to us. But we had to go to work. So she had a gift shop and a soda fountain in the front, and then there was a big dining room in the back. And but she didn't use the dining room only on Sundays, because lunches were served at the counter in the front of the cafe. And we had work hard. Oh, she was a tyrant, really. That's awful, I shouldn't say that. But we had to polish silver, and we had to do everything. And if she saw us not having anything to do, she'd bring out some napkins that were torn, and we'd have to mend those. Well, we hardly knew how to mend, but we'd have to sew. And she never let us be free a minute, not a minute.
Now, the people that came in, were they people that were in town, or what? Or people going through?
Into the counter for lunches, yes.
Okay.
But
now, what kind of things would she serve? I mean, would they be things more sandwich type things?
Yeah, sandwiches and donuts and pie and something like that. I don't remember ever having served any French fries. I don't think they had potato chips at that time, really. But one of the customers that used to come there all the time was a man that lived up toward Waterville by the name of Mark Stevens. And he was supposedly a lawyer. And he'd order a cup of coffee and a donut. And we used to laugh. He'd use a half a cup of ketchup on that donut. Or half a bottle, I mean, of ketchup on that donut. He was a funny old fella. And Max Maynard came there every day, and he came there every evening and he had ice cream. He was a big man. And he'd have, in the evening, he'd come and have this great big dish of ice cream.
Now, you started at 6. What time did you get done?
10 o'clock.
Oh, my goodness. Do you remember, have any idea of how much you got paid for it?
It seems to me, this figure kind of comes to mind, that we got $8 a week. Seems like that.
They didn't believe in overtime back then.
Oh, no.
Now, you were allowed to have your meal. You could have something to eat while you were there
Oh, yes.
working. Yeah.
And my sister, she got away with murder anyway, wherever she was. She'd go in and have a dish of ice cream 2 or 3 times. And we weren't supposed to have that unless we paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
And Mort Hawley was a big, big man.
Now, he was kind of
Uncle.
uncle. Okay.
On Sunday, we'd have the big, big crowd for a homemade chicken dinner. That was the way it was advertised. And they'd come from everywhere.
Really?
And that dining room would be full. We'd have a lot of people. And out in the kitchen, Mrs. Hawley employed a couple of other ladies that did the dishes. And all Phyllis and I had to do was to help to make up the trays and take them in. Boy, we worked all the afternoon on Sunday, right up until late afternoon.
So they had a good business going there.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really did. You know how much that dinner cost? $1.50.
Really?
That summer that I worked there, $1.50 for a homemade.
And that included your dessert and everything?
They had the old-fashioned chicken pie and mashed potato, and I don't remember the vegetables especially, but homemade pies.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine. So after you graduated from high school, you went to college at
UVM. And I lived with my aunt and uncle. I couldn't have gone to college otherwise, because that was right during the Depression, and nobody had any money. My father and mother didn't have any money to send me to college. And my grandfather Thomas paid my tuition, and it was $350 per semester.
Imagine.
And one semester, after Phyllis graduated from high school, she wanted to go to Johnson. So Gramp said yes, he would send her to help her to go to Johnson. But he said to me, I can't afford to pay your tuition this year. I was a senior. And I didn't know really what I was going to do. But I went to my Grandma Wescombe, and what little money that she had, she gave me enough to pay my tuition that year. And when I went to teaching, she was the first person that I paid back.
Really? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Where was your first teaching job?
In Milton.
In Milton?
Mm-hmm.
And that was languages?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And I was a very fortunate person. In Milton, I boarded with Mr. and Mrs. Robinson, and their daughter was going to Johnson with my sister. And I heard about a vacancy that was coming up in the high school. And so I applied for it, and I don't know what happened to get the job anyway.
Mm-hmm. Now, did Phyllis graduate from Johnson?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And she was a teacher in the grades.
Okay.
First grade and fourth grade were the two that I remember that she had.
Now, did you have a steady boyfriend when you were going to college?
No.
No?
No.
So when was the first that you...
When I was in college, I went out on a few dates. I went to a few college dances, but I didn't have a steady boyfriend.
Maybe you should tell Roberta, like, where you lived in relationship to this.
Yeah. My first